We thought that we had seen it all. We thought that Star Wars could not fall any lower than it possibly had already with the Acolyte, episodes 1 through 5. That's when episode 6 arrived. And folks, we're here to tell you we've never seen anything this bad, perhaps. Not just on Star Wars, but on Disney+. Hello folks, welcome back to the channel that is painfully, terribly having to sit through and review these episodes of The Acolyte for you. You're welcome. Good Lord, they're bad. We're going to go into it. We're going to tell you why it makes us sad to see Star Wars doing this poorly. Before we do those, folks, we'd like to bring up a Patreon chat. Folks, if you'd like to join the Patreon, it's over at patreon.com/WDW Pro. But we had someone over on the Patreon send us this question, and I thought it was just absolutely beautiful, and I want to address it before we get started with the review proper of Acolyte episode 6. And wow, is it bad? I mean, we're talking factory resetting droids using the exact same button press as an iPhone. Bad. It's bad. But this is the question from Kenneth Wiggins. If the fans are truly in apathy mode, which we believe they are, we think the viewership is going to be so bad for this and the latter episodes that it probably won't chart on Nielsen. Do you believe adding Luke Skywalker would do anything for the brand? Well, adding Luke has to improve it because doing almost anything would improve it at this point. Anything you do that's not what they're doing is an improvement. They are at the bottom. Or will it just be seen as a pathetic attempt at this point? Well, it depends on the portrayal of Luke. Lauren Connor made a really interesting statement about that during our live show last night. And that is that if you bring in Luke simply to have him watch as all of his prior accolades in the extended universe are taken by Filoni's characters, then that's going to be seen as a giant pile of baloney. And fans are not going to be happy at all. Now, that's the track record we've seen with Lucasfilm, so why would we expect anything else? It's hard to give them any glimmer of hope at all after watching episode 6. It's one of the worst pieces of entertainment, and I use the word entertainment here only because that's what they intended it to be. It's one of the worst pieces of entertainment, I think, that has ever been made on Disney+. I can come up with a few things that might be worse, but it's really hard. This is painful to watch. It's embarrassing for anyone who is involved in it. It is objectively terrible writing, terrible cinematography, terrible dialogue. There's nothing redeeming about episode 6. It is awful in almost every way imaginable. So from those types of minds, would I expect anything grand or grandiose for Luke Skywalker? No. Kenneth Wiggins, you're on to something big there. Thank you for being a Patreon member. Folks, let's get to the review now of The Acolyte episode 6. Woof. Here we go. How about this, Jonas? Anyone involved in this episode should never make another show again. How's that?
The special effects people were okay.
No, the CGI is terrible.
There was
terrible.
Some rodents on the beach that I thought they did a decent job of that, but that was the only thing good. And I mean, really, you're talking. Okay, I need to emphasize this to everyone. I rated last episode a 7 because things happened. It was so bad. It was fun for me, and fun in a Schadenfreude kind of way. Like I'm laughing at them at how serious that they're taking some of this stuff. This was just boring. This was so boring. By the way, somebody gets naked in this episode. Still boring.
We know where the intimacy coordinator was now. Yes, Lauren, that's right. The Sith man, Smilo Ren, gets naked and takes a bath on a planet that is literally called Unknown Planet. Oh, by the way, I just got the joke tonight. Kofar. It's Gofar with a K instead of a G. But
what did the unknown planet look like?
Octo.
Yep. And it's random generic Octo again. And Smilo Ren gets naked. By the way, there's no reason for him to take OSHA.
For those of you
twin to
who
this
don't know what
planet.
Octo is the planet that Luke is on that is supposedly very important to
Jake.
the Jedi Order
Jake.
in The Last Jedi.
Was it
Jake's
actually Octo, or are you saying that just as
No,
generic
it just
planet?
looked like Octo. It looked like a European small island in Ireland. And they also had violins playing a little bit in there, so it did kind of have an Irish melancholy feel to it, more than Octo did. But it actually just looked like not even Space Ireland, because it's low tech when you get there. Although there are guardrails up when she walks out of the cave for some stupid reason.
So let's
Wait a minute. When who walks out of the cave? Was it OSHA?
Bad Twin.
Yes, it is good.
Wait,
No,
no,
it's
no,
Good
it's
Twin.
good. It's Good Twin. Good Twin wearing Bad Twin's clothes.
All right, which one is the bad twin? Which one is the good twin? Because I don't know.
Good Twin is OSHA. Bad Twin is May.
And
So it was not OSHA then?
Good Twin
It
went
was
with
OSHA.
Chimere.
It was OSHA. So
Because
OSHA
Bad
had
Twin-
guardrails for the first time in Star Wars.
Right, but it's not even in a
Well
place
played, well played.
where it's not even that. I just got that. It's not even guardrails in a place where she could fall. There's literally just rails there for no reason.
All right, well, joining us to help us parse out what is the most dull, boring, yet still canon-breaking piece of drivel I think we've ever had to suffer through. And by the way, folks, this is the worst episode. It's the worst episode. It has to be.
Agreed.
Please welcome to the show yet again for the root canal that is the Acolyte, John Trent. John Trent, welcome back, sir.
Good to be back. Yeah, this show can be described in one word: boring.
So boring.
And also, John, your mic's a little low, but as you fix that, we've got another guest joining in, folks, as this party ramps up. We are celebrating the most boring thing you have ever seen. It's like throwing a party for dental floss, but dental floss has more character than this. Please welcome to someone who has plenty of character, and that is Culture Casino. Welcome, sir. Culture, you are muted, and yet you are still more interesting than this episode.
Wow, you took the words right out of my mouth, bro.
That wouldn't be hard. It was funny because I was messaging with Jonas. I'm like, wow, this is bad. And that's, I mean, look, it gets repetitive to say that 6 episodes in, but
But Culture, give it credit. Every episode is a different flavor of bad. I mean, that's impressive.
But I mean,
Yeah.
boring. Look, you can say that about a lot of things. Boring isn't a good enough word. This is moribund. This is
They made the Carmen Sandiego games, right?
Yeah, no, it's just this is almost literally, death's door of boring. This is this is lacking all kinds of life, and for no other reason than there are epic amounts of time of silence with little happening, and I have to tell you, the rodent was less impressive than I expected on diagnosing that this was a.
Oh, that rodent.
This was a.
There's never a character that overachieves. We have come to the point now. Okay, so just to give people a taste of how stupid and zany this was.
Zany.
We have just experienced the sorrow of everyone dying, except no one cares and we don't care. But everyone died, and it's big time hurting soul, right? I mean, he is at the edge of a PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
And we get a close-up shot of the corpses, including wide-eyed, bug-eyed corpse Jackie. That's bizarre. A close-up of a corpse's face of a kid, and we get a look at Flashlight Boy, his corpse,
no decomposition whatsoever.
All of this. Well, yeah, exactly. Well, there's a joke to be made. I won't, but they're all. This is supposed to be just so profound, and then in the middle of all this, we get the stupid badger with zany antics of stomping the foot of Bad Twin and the droid squirting her with water and her squealing out like she's on a kid's cartoon, and has been hit in the face with green goo on Nickelodeon. I don't know what to make of this, except that none of these people should ever be allowed to touch entertainment again. Ever.
And except for that moment, the entire episode is that like sad violin kind of stuff.
I'm not sure this was made by humans. I can't understand how this feels like an alien that kind of sort of barely understood our emotions, attempted to make something.
This show was a $20 million waste of money. It was a complete episode, provided absolutely nothing.
That actually sounds accurate to me. I think Westland is an alien who doesn't understand our
But Lauren, this was it even 30 minutes long? It was very short.
38, and then 6 minutes of credits.
Did you watch the
listen
intro
32
bit? Okay.
There is not a single character who maintains their motivations from scene to scene.
No.
All right. So we have watched Bad Twin run the full gamut, every spectrum of what she might want to do with her future. She's done it. And Good Twin now is doing the same thing. So Good Twin, first of all, the evil Sith guy, Smilo Ren, has no reason whatsoever to take her to Sith Planet. There is no reason given. There is none that we can possibly come up with. But he takes her there. And then he just goes to take a bath for no reason and just leaves her there. And she just gets up and walks around the Octo Island. But guess what? For no reason apparent, she decides to put on the helmet.
He has to have waited until she got up in order to do this as well, because she's following so closely behind him that it can't be accidental on anyone's part. It's so bizarre. Like could they not get a larger set or something on this very large island to at least have her see him from a distance and then follow? She's within earshot. If she broke wind, he would hear it. She's that close to him as she's following him on this planet. And yet he still takes off his clothes and gets in the water, and he's far away. She holds up the lightsaber and she says, "Stop where you are." He's a good like 40 feet away and buck naked in the water, and she tells him to freeze. Like, this makes no sense whatsoever.
Right. So this is why we've got the intimacy coordinator, because Sith Baddie had to take a bath.
Pro Show's going in new directions today.
I'm telling you. But he's got to take a bath, and we get a scene where she sees him naked, right? That's a new Star Wars thing. He comes out full frontal. There's nothing shown on screen.
When you say full frontal, the show
I mean
doesn't
it.
have full
I mean,
frontal.
Listen, they don't show it.
I'm assuming,
but she sees it. He's butt naked and walks
the
straight
audience
towards her.
See anything? Thankfully, Star Wars doesn't need nude scenes already. I mean, at least they didn't go that far. Other than it's ridiculous that you have a character somebody out in a kids franchise. Yeah, Quatrina VR right here. I thought all these shills called this a kids show.
They just did. In fact, in one of the things I just did a video on, which was the Sith is a bad word, bologna sausage.
Oh, that.
Yeah, I was like, look,
show, Jonas.
Yeah, look. I mean,
a kids show with nudity.
Nakey, Sithy, snaky. I don't know, but was not very excited about what was going on there. She seemingly was unfazed, but overall, that is the least offensive thing that was in this show, because every other thing about this was just insulting my intelligence. The storytelling when Vernestra shows up on planet I don't care.
Kofar.
Kofar. Yeah. It's Gofar, but with a sound at the beginning.
Well,
Kofar.
You know what? At least they gave us the credit that they could say unknown planet wherever
so
that sea atoll was.
They were on. I'm just begging them. Can the next planet please? Can the next planet please be called Itche? Please just call it Itche, because that's where we are.
Latin for the win. But I just look in looking at it all. Look, anybody watching this has to be offended just because your intelligence is insulted. The pacing is terrible. If this was a film, I would brutalize it for the fact that it was this boring.
Listen, I don't even think I know they're required to say it. Like, I know that the Acolyte shills are not legit. I know that they have to say they like it. This is, I feel like CNN post-debate has got to be what people who like the Acolyte feel tonight, because how could you enjoy this? I don't know where you could derive any pleasure whatsoever from this episode. It's awful. It's awful in every possible way. Let's do the recap.
There's
Jonas,
more.
Just from a moral standpoint, he does invite her into the water with him naked. He says,
That's nice. He's a nice.
Yeah.
If you're not going to join me, may I get my clothes?
Right. So,
And by the way, while I get my clothes, can I stand
Star Wars
completely nude in front of you? And geez, Louise, it's just so terrible. So anyway, we've got Sith love. We got to have the good twin is now, she's evil, and she's falling in love with Sith, and she's putting on the mask. But folks, it's a tradition now. So and by the way, I'll tell you all this before we get started with John Trent running the recap. I can tell that there is something wrong in Acolyte land because I am watching Twitter closely. There is almost no response to this episode thus far. That is very different than what we have seen in the other episodes. And I think the lack of response speaks volumes that perhaps nobody enjoyed this. All right, let's go ahead.
Come
John.
on. There aren't people freaking out about the lightsaber whip. Oh my gosh, she killed
That was the stupid. Okay. We'll talk
okay.
about it in a minute. It's the dumbest thing ever.
Can I ask a question?
Mhm.
Yes.
You guys
You're
are
not going to like
saying
the
that
answer.
She puts on a mask at some point. I had thought that his helmet was destroyed. Is this a different mask? What is
He
it?
glued it back together.
He welds
Yeah,
it back
okay.
together. Yeah.
He apparently has a vein of cortosis in the cave that he lives in.
Is that what that was?
So
That's what
it's the same kind of thing as like the kintsugi that they did on Kylo Ren's mask?
Yeah.
No.
Well, I mean, it looked like it was a very weird. I don't know, but
it was
did
two
look like
pieces put together. I mean,
fresh metal.
the two pieces fell apart, and then the two pieces got put back together.
All right.
It was
well,
And then he
Humpty
welded
Dumpty.
it.
Humpty
or something.
helmet. It was
And
Humpty,
and for some
backwards.
reason, he took off part of his shirt while he was welding, but not the entire thing.
Well, you never want to set your cloak on fire.
Well, no, only the back. He like as if he was showing off his tramp stamp to the girl. Like it was as if she had the dialogue about him being stabbed in the back during the bath scene, where it would actually make sense for her to ask about the scars. Instead, they have him hold up the back of his shirt for no reason whatsoever, and then she asks about the scars.
So we have a number of people out there, I'll tell you this on Twitter, who are speculating that this island actually is Octo. So just putting that out there, there are some folks who think that legitimately the Acolyte is having Sith bad guy be on that island of Octo where Luke is. So I don't know. Maybe it is.
were there porgs?
No, there were elephant-nosed dodo birds.
Right.
Yep.
Something like a porg, but not a porg. You
Not
wouldn't.
anywhere close to a porg. It's like
Maybe it's part of their evolutionary cycle. They go through an elephant-nosed dodo period.
Metamorphosis on the way.
When I say like a porg, I mean something that they would try to merchandise like a porg.
well, okay. It's like they could probably play their trunk if they had hands, but they don't have hands.
So
Well, on that note.
Max Rebo birds.
Yes, kind of.
That would
A
be
little bit,
cuter.
sort of.
All right, John. John, give us the recap. Walk us through what we were forced to watch.
All right, so it begins with Osha waking up in a cave that has a bunch of furnishings. She finds May's knives and clothes, and then she puts them on, and we are told that they are on an unknown planet. Cut to Sol and May. They are on their ship. Sol departs. Kofar attempts to contact Jedi. Somehow their communications are interrupted. Who knows why? Mainly because probably they have to create some kind of fake intrigue in order to do that, because their comms seemingly had no issues before, and now all of a sudden it's not working. No explanation as to why. And then the power keeps fluctuating on their ship too.
She also has the chance to kill him, but because he tells her to fly the ship, she has a sudden change and decides, no, this is really important. I'll fly the ship in space to nowhere instead of killing you now.
Yep, I had May approaches from behind with knife. Doesn't use it.
Yep, just no reason why.
Plot says so.
Plot says so.
As Pro mentioned earlier, Sol is then frustrated at the loss of the entire team. There's like a close zoom in on him being emotionally distraught. He's kind of pounding his hands on like this table in frustration and agony. And then we cut to the Basil guy. There's like an entire scene of him literally taking the Pip robot and just putting it on a charger strip. Like that's it.
It's, by the way, the Pip robot is going to get worse. Lauren, we're going to do something in just a minute that you're going to lose your mind over.
Now, is that the same place where it's found later? Because it looked like it was a different place, but I don't know.
It was a different room, I think.
It
was on the same charger.
I enjoyed that part because they used some really creative international charging ports. Because when you go to a foreign country, you have to have like an international charging thing to plug in.
I had multiple USB spots. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there was C, B, A. Just plug your robot into the right port.
And Culture is actually being serious. Like there's multiple ports where you make sure that the Pip robot can fit onto the right one.
And this is all done silently.
Yes.
Not a word of dialogue.
With former good music from other better Star Wars.
So then we have Osha. Cut back to Osha. Or Good Twin. She's following Chimera, Milo Ren. And we just talked about that. He wades into the water. He's naked. There's a bunch of like boring dialogue about Soul and her relationship with him, as well as the Jedi. And then he gets out and like walks away. Jonas kind of talked about the dialogue there. Didn't really make a lot of sense. And she's holding his lightsaber. He kind of just like walks past her, and she just holds on to it, I guess. We cut back to
she had a firm grasp on that saber. He did comment on her really stance, except her elbow needed to be higher. That's one of the
yes. Yeah.
They really know lightsaber positioning after last week.
Yes. From there, we go back to Soul. He then hugs May. He says he will face the High Council to tell them everything. And then the power on the ship shuts down. This is something that they would use to basically not follow through with what the dialogue says they're going to do. So they can then change their motivation for whatever reason. And
she still doesn't kill him.
Yes. We then cut to Coruscant with Vernestra being informed of Soul's transmissions. And then she announces her plans to go to Kofar.
She also says she gets sick or something when she flies.
They make some dumb joke about.
Oh, that's so weird.
Being air sick. It was stupid.
He says you get.
Well played, Lauren.
He says you get air sick. She says no. I just find it disturbing.
So she's been told that everyone is dead, and it's jokey joke time. Like this episode. I'm telling you, it's not made by a human. No human would make this.
Lauren, let me ask you. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, I was going to ask you a question. You ask Lauren, then I get to ask you. Go.
Can they do comms in hyperspace?
Yes, actually. That was done in the Phantom Menace.
That's right.
But you don't usually see it in hyperspace, but it can be done. Yes.
All right. Culture.
There is a very inconvenient white guy in this show.
Yes.
He's an idiot. So it's fine for him to be there. He's an idiot.
Okay.
I thought he did a fine job doing whatever it was he does around there, which is walking in and informing her of the mission that she already knew about.
He did not sound like a Southerner. He
sounded British gay, not Southern.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, he was floaty.
I didn't feel like doing British gay.
Yeah, dude was floaty the whole time. I'm like, all right, well, there you go. Gayest Star Wars ever. Well done.
Gay Napoleon Dynamite. That's who that was.
So from there, we cut back to Smilo. He confirms that he actually was a Jedi. And then there's some more just I don't know.
Long time ago.
In a galaxy far. Anyway.
So this 30-year-old guy says he was a Jedi a really long time ago, indicating that he has somehow achieved a way to prolong his life. I guess there was an implication with that.
Do they give any indication of how old he's actually supposed to be?
Not yet.
No, they just make it seem like he's pretty old.
He's
Much
really
older
old.
than he appears.
Yes.
Yep.
Then we get the supposed to be a comic relief scene. It's just cringe-inducing. Basil confronts May. He literally like just makes some like weird motions, like kick, punch, punch, and then he actually like goes and like grabs her leg, and then she just kicks him off, and then the Pip robot shoots May with the juice, and then she literally just pushes 2 buttons and factory resets it like it's a cell phone or something.
All right, so let's talk about that because they actually used the words factory reset.
Yes. Yeah.
So, Lorne, is factory reset a thing in Star Wars, or did that just happen tonight?
That's essentially what a memory wipe is. I'm a little surprised they didn't just call it a memory wipe.
Yeah,
that's what a factory reset would be.
All right. Well, they factory reset the pit time.
Yeah, the scene was so weird and so like goofy, comical. Like it sounds like a compliment. It's a compliment to Jar Jar Binks to say that they're going for a Jar Jar Binks thing there with this little character. Oh, and this came out of nowhere. What was the line? Why aren't you a Jedi? He just asked, and she goes, "Because I failed."
And then she goes full dark side.
Nowhere. Yeah.
Except when she slices at his neck, it's the same thing we saw last week. She actually doesn't slice at his neck. She's trying to hit his Adam's apple with the hilt for no reason we can possibly discern other than plot reasons, bad writing, bad choreography.
He may have a small bruise on his sternum.
Like, this scene wouldn't have been as cringeworthy as what it was if there was actually any kind of build-up to it. And there wasn't. There's absolutely no build-up to it. We don't know anything about why Osha was flushed out of the Jedi. We don't know any of this stuff. We don't have any of this information. We don't have any of this background. So this is just completely pointless, falls apart, doesn't work. And maybe that's something they had never written. They cut it, but they didn't.
She's never raged before, ever. She's never shown any signs of any of this. It's just out of the blue.
This shot makes it look like something happens in the episode, but again, almost nothing happens in this episode.
Yeah, the thing is, there's no dramatic tension. None of these types of elements actually produce any emotion from the audience. One of the things that offends me the most, and despite the fact they insult my intelligence, is that they don't inspire any emotion, nor do they yield any in the show. As Pro pointed out early on, dead Jedi everywhere. Nobody cares.
So can I break in here just to offer an opinion?
Please.
Because obviously, I'm hearing you guys describe it. I know what you're seeing based on what you're saying.
You, Lauren, are the representative of the audience out there not watching, the vast majority, and yet you also come with a huge encyclopedic brain when it comes to knowledge of Star Wars. Please share your thought.
Well, I want to try and be as fair to the show as I can. I mean, obviously, I'm not watching it, but I do worry about just completely trashing it. It's like because I will say last week they did something that I actually thought was kind of surprising and I thought done well. And that was that they did use cortosis. And not only did they use it, they used it correctly.
Did they?
They did. It does short out lightsabers in the way that they say it is. It is brittle.
But it's brittle, and it does take damage from the lightsaber, correct?
Yes. Now, what I was going to say, though, is that it seems to be a repeated theme in the show that while they may have used cortosis correctly, it was shot in such a dim scene that nobody could tell what was going on, and then they didn't explain what it was or where it comes from or why it has the properties that it has.
They did it in this episode. They tell you what it is in this episode.
Yeah,
but that's
one I want to throw in here.
That's still horrible writing because it leaves your audience not knowing what happened for a week. You've got to provide the context to explain what's going on.
Somebody smart said something today that is stuck with me. The fact that this is being released episodically, week to week, instead of the binge model, like Echo was, because they wanted that gone fast. This is suffering from the fact that it is weekly. So as you suggest, Lauren, the audience has no idea what this is until this episode, when he actually says the word, which we already guessed because we have geniuses like you in the audience, that aren't watching the show at all.
Well, the other thing that you're kind of describing here is that they're describing the effects of things that are already in universe, but they're using different names or words for it as though they don't know what you would normally call it. And I think this is part of what invites some of the ridicule, is that you're claiming to be these diehard Star Wars fans and that Star Wars literally saved your life, but you're calling something a factory reset, which is something from our world. That's not something that they would say in Star Wars.
I want to shed some light on this. For the audience who is not watching this show, the vast majority of you out there who have the better sense than we do, apparently, and for Lorne, this scene that we're about to play, 16 seconds, fair use, Disney, no audio, but trust me, it's better without the audio. And I don't mean it's better as in, like, it's funnier this way. I mean, no, legitimately, adding any new form of media just makes it worse.
There's no dialogue in this scene anyways.
Prepare yourselves, folks, for the Bozo the Clown level of stupidity that this is. This is Basil the Badger sniffing dog thing who sniffed the Wookiee toilet paper to find the Wookiee Jedi dead last time, but never did, and instead just screeched through the forest. This is him discovering that it's Bad Twin, who, oh, by the way, Bad Twin up until this episode had a giant face tattoo that clearly marketed her as Bad Twin, but that's gone now for plot. Here we go. This is the big scene where Basil finds out Bad Twin is on the ship. Here we go.
I don't know that it's coming through well on the stream.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. If it doesn't, we're saving you all from it.
Right. And I thought that he was grabbing Pip when he did the flashlight thing, but no, he was just grabbing a flashlight and running off. Lauren, there's one thing I wanted to add here. So when he fixes the helmet, he says cortosis to explain kind of what it is, but then he says that the helmet being cortosis is what blocks out the Jedi from reading his thoughts.
No, that's not what he says. He says that it's also a
sensory deprivation.
Sensory deprivation, like the younglings.
Right, and so it's supposed to be just you and the Force in there.
Yeah, that's total BS. That's not a property of cortosis.
Right, and so if it's just you and the Force, then wouldn't that allow someone else to read your thoughts more easily? Because aren't people reading emotions or emotional state or whatever through the Force?
The way I would read it is that if that's the property that they're going to try to describe, the thing that allows you to read people's thoughts is the Force that is created by life. If you're blocking that out, you can't read anything.
This is why it doesn't make any sense. Anybody, am I misreading what he said in there?
No, because I was irritated because I'm like, okay, this helmet is a 2-in-1. This is a Swiss Army knife helmet that can do all these things that none of these things do combined. So it was incredibly frustrating.
Well, we found out it's really bad visibility. So that's what it's negative 75 visibility. So it offsets the other great things about it.
Yeah, well, what it does do is give you an artificial respirator quality that doesn't seem to make sense. But
and there's no vocal modifications in the helmet, is what we found out.
Well, it's the issue with time as well, because remember, you go from right here and it jumps right back to Sol leaving the planet. Like, so they're trying to tell you that while Smilo and Osha are already here on Octo,
and she's been snoozing. She's Sleeping Beauty,
and Sol is just now leaving the planet. So,
and again, they reinforce the idea that 16 years had passed
since Brandon. Yeah, Star Wars has always had trouble with the passage of time, even when George Lucas was in charge of it.
But this is a special kind
of is like a continuity error.
Yes, but this whole show's a continuity. I'm sorry, this whole show has problems with continuity. So
its own continuity. It destroys Star Wars canon, and it destroys its own canon from scene to scene. The height of the villain can't stay consistent.
How long was Jedi nap time out? Before he decided to willingly have a drink of some tree that doesn't exist on the planet that you have to get the poison from.
Bunta, but not the other Bunta. Not the Bunta Eve Bunta, but the Bunta from the Bunta tree.
Yes. There's so
All
many
right.
problems with the show.
John, is there anything left in our recap that we need to talk about now that we've discussed the light whip being used only to smack a beetle?
I guess we can talk
Smack
a little bit about. I guess you showed Chimere. You showed Osha responding to Chimere's threatening her or asking her to kill him. Stupid villain trope.
Right. She said, "I'm not so easily corrupted," and then she attempted to murder him, but not really because.
We did get some discussion on the Force. They say Chimere says, or Osha says, without training, it fades like the Force fades, like your power within the Force fades. And Chimere's like, there is another powerful emotions lie just underneath your conscience: fear, anger, loss, desire. And obviously, like confirming they lead to the dark side. And he's like semantics. So that was like kind of a big. I thought that was like maybe the most significant part of the show.
Yeah. On that was weird to me to say anger and fear are below consciousness. Like, no, that's the least accurate description of anger and fear that I've ever heard.
I'm just wondering what Lauren thinks of that description of the Force, or how the Force fades if you don't constantly train in it.
I guess it depends on what sources that you're going from. They've always kind of played a little bit loose with how Jedi disconnect from the Force, whether it's an active I'm cutting myself off, or whether it's more a passive I'm just choosing not to use it, versus whether or not you train with it. If you're going back to George Lucas, Lucas has said definitively that yes, you do have to train to continue to use it. It is a lifelong practice, and that if you don't work those muscles, that you're not going to be as proficient. And so I don't see that as being directly opposed to what George would say. But I do think that this is...
I think there is an argument to be made, too. There are people like Mike Tyson that are just naturally gifted, or what's the swimmer's name? Who won all those like gold medals?
Oh, Michael Phelps?
Yeah.
Phelps. Yeah, there are people that are clearly like naturally talented and gifted that are just going to be better.
Yes.
In the Force.
See, I think this is another area where there's lots of debate in the community about whether the only way that you could be powerful in the Force is to come from a particular bloodline. I don't think that that's true. I think everybody can touch the Force. And the question is, are you going to dedicate your time and your effort into communing with it, manipulating it? And then I would also argue there are other Force traditions. To be a Jedi is a type of dogma. This is, the Jedi have their interpretation of the Force. The Sith have their interpretation of the Force. There's probably not a lot of difference there other than how you actually access it and what you use it for. And so I've never really bought into the idea that it is only available to a chosen few. It's actually available to every living being. But some are going to have more natural aptitude for it, and some are able to manipulate it simply because they put a lot of time and effort into learning how to use it.
All right. Well, before we go any further, guys, I want to bring on someone who was a background character in the Acolyte.
No,
so, yes, we're going to interview someone from the Acolyte. Here we go.
Who could that be? Let's go see, boys and girls.
I'm cutting it off. No.
You removed our guest?
I'm using
Jonas, you removed our
veto here.
I've never seen...
Jonas, your attitude sucks. Just like all the rest of you bigots. Okay, this show is the greatest Star Wars product that has ever existed to man. Okay?
Wilton,
Not
are you
women.
saying that because you had an extra role in this? You were red shirt guy number 18?
In what?
In Acolyte, episode 5. Were you not running around in the background?
Double. I was the body double.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Look at the tuft, you can see.
Yeah. A little singe there from the lightsaber. All right, so Wilton, you say that this is the greatest Star Wars show ever.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, explain why, Wilton.
Explain why what?
Why is it the greatest Star Wars show ever?
Okay, which one are we talking about?
The Acolyte, Wilton, the show that we are literally basing this live stream on. You have entered a show where it's like the Talking Dead. It's like the Talking Dead, except the reverse. We tell the truth. So why is The Acolyte the greatest Star Wars show ever? Go ahead,
I
Wilton.
didn't watch it.
I hate you, Wilton.
Well, that would explain why.
I officially hate you. All right, folks, it is Marvin the Movie Monster. Marvin, have you seen the latest Acolyte episode?
I managed to stay awake through it. Yeah,
Marvin, I've said that if I were not forced to review this thing, there's no way I would have watched it. Like, I would have ended this. Gosh, maybe I could have made it 10 minutes. I don't think the average person is actually going to watch it. What's your assessment of it? Give us your quick review of this most recent episode.
I mean, I wish I could come in here like guns a-blazing the way I did last week with like this big dramatic review of like all the things that I hated and all the things that happened that like, you know, was so nonsensical. But the key phrase in what I just said is all the things that happened last week. Nothing happened this week.
It's like being asked to review a restaurant that gave you an empty plate.
Yes, it was nothing. They both talked to people. They both talked to their respective dudes, and you know, she creepily watched Asian Ezra take a bath, and I'm sure like the creepy Raylos who have been shipping her with Asian Ezra since the second he covered her with a blanket last week are just, you know, going to have a field day.
All three of them.
Yeah, I've actually seen an alarming amount of them because for some reason these are the same people that will sit there and they'll be like, if you like Tony Soprano or Walter White, you're a toxic human being. But oh my God, like, could you imagine if like Rey and Kylo Ren like kissed? Like they're you know, they want to ship every woman in Star Wars with some genocidal maniac.
And they themselves have never been shipped whatsoever. Is that
of course.
Fair? Okay.
Maybe shipped to
Marvin,
Abu Dhabi like Nermal the cat on Garfield.
Marvin, we waited a long time. Good reference. Wow. Marvin, we've waited a long time to see the lightsaber whip used in live action. Did it fulfill all of the expectations you had coming in?
I for one just felt very safe knowing that we had a unthreatening flaccid lightsaber for once. I mean, you know, it's about time. We didn't have to
a light ribbon dancer. I was happy though because
yes.
you know, a couple of episodes ago, one of those bugs flew straight into a non-moving lightsaber that was just held up in the air like an air traffic control. And this time, the bug was taken out with a light whip. But if you've already taken it out with a stationary lightsaber, the whip seems a little unnecessary, I would say. We've already identified that the only way to be threatened by these bugs is if you have a tiny flashlight. I also have another question. Culture and John, and you, all three of you, please. Wasn't the little pip robot flown away on the back of the big baddie, and he was eaten by bugs? But now he's fine, and Pip is okay too. So help me understand. Did they want to hug him?
And the badger picked it up.
But
yeah, them and Otta picked it up.
But did the bugs just want to hug him? Like what happened there? I thought we were supposed he's not got a scratch. These are friendly bugs.
He's kind of doing a little dance in the air as the CGI bugs are just kind of around him. And then next thing we know, he's back on the ground and taking care of Osho.
He's okay. The bugs wanted a hug.
Well, I feel like we're discounting what could be possibly wounds on him.
And not tramp stamps.
Sure.
Oh, I didn't.
Marvin?
I thought all that stuff was from the previous, way in the past.
Yeah, like 1,000, 12,000, giga-thousand years ago.
I mean, there were black streaks on his arms and stuff.
Bug poo. He's been bug pooed. He's been slimed. Mm-hmm. Marvin, give us your thoughts on where you think the Acolyte's going to go, and how low can it go in terms of audience retention?
Where I think it went this week, Unknown Planet, I would be shocked if this is not revealed to be the planet that Luke Skywalker died on a rock on. Because it looks just like it. It looks just like it. Yeah. And there were baby versions of what looked to be the green milk monster there. So I was just like, okay, I guess that's where we
Oh
are.
no, Marvin, you're right. Those are the baby version of the milked creature. You're right.
That's what it looked like to me.
We didn't catch that, guys. They have the same. They have the same trunk. They're the baby versions.
There was a scene though where there was like 2 adults and like 1 child. So, and the adults were still really tiny.
Oh, sorry, Marvin. We're idiots. John's right.
No, maybe. Yeah, you never know. You never know. But it definitely did look like that place. The cherry on top of the awfulness of this show would be if they somehow tie The Last Jedi into it.
Culture.
Well, no, I mean, okay, so you guys are suggesting if you think those are the, the blue milkmen or green milkmen.
Maybe they grow a bunch. Maybe a few of them really get big.
Well, no, but you could be suggesting that something happened to that planet that made them evolve faster.
Oh, you mean Darth Manny? He's using his dark powers to make blue milk and green milk creatures.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, I can see it. Yep, totally.
Remember, Luke says there's a cave underneath where he's at that's where the dark side is, and Rey goes there immediately.
I also think that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say you don't know the power of the dark side. I'm just saying.
I legitimately still think that this guy was stabbed in the back as a Jedi. Okay, he died, and he was reanimated by Mama Yas to be her meat puppet. And he's just filled with fart cloud energy like that guy on Ahsoka was. And that's what everything he says ties into her. Last week with the I want to use my power the way I want to use it. This is about power on who has the right to use it. And the power of 2 this week. Like everything he says is so like blatantly tied into Mama Yas that like it's so telegraphed that she's actually going to be the thing behind this.
Can anyone explain to me why he wanted to take Good Twin to the island? Like, what is the motivation? What can she possibly do for him?
He told Soul that he wants an apprentice or an acolyte.
Okay, so
he wants an acolyte.
Okay, what about Good Twin says that she's the one to do that? I don't understand why he didn't go to the Wookiee and be like, hey, instead of me singeing your hair lightly and killing you with that, you want to go do some like island stuff? I'll bathe. You want to do that?
Who knows? Leslie Edlin says in that Mary Sue interview that we were talking about a little bit earlier that she has some kind of dark side and he's gonna like give her what she wants.
Okay.
I mean, literally, there's like I don't think this show is complicated at all. Leslie Edlin like makes that clear in like everything she says and everything we've watched. It's not complicated.
It's also not human. It's subhuman level writing. Okay, let's do it this way. Is this worse than Willow?
I didn't watch Willow.
Oh yeah, no, it's way worse than Willow.
Okay, Willow is a tax write-off.
Willow is definitely a tax write-off, but this is Willow
Not
wasn't
Star
like
Wars.
it wasn't. Yeah, it's not Star Wars. It's not offensive. Like a bad Willow is a bad. It's okay. It's a bad Willow. A bad like. What this does to Star Wars is, oh my god, like it just destroys it. There's no coming back from this. It's the windmill. Well, it's the point of no return.
Okay, so what we need to do, John, Jonas, yes. I know you're out there, is research what the viewership was for Willow as compared to this show. And whether or not this is worth writing off another $200 million.
Willow didn't even chart on the Nielsen.
I feel like Willow charted the first episode. Did it barely make like the subcategory?
Okay, but time out. I don't think we're comparing apples to apples. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I believe that the charts have actually slipped. So that despite the fact that you're still seeing a lot of things that are Netflix that are number 1, I think the overall numbers may have slid with the number of people watching streaming.
Well, definitely Disney Plus. They might get lucky and get this thing on the charts a few times, but I mean, as we've said, it's like a third of Ahsoka, and Ahsoka was considered a failure.
But a failure is only getting 3% of your total subscriber base to watch something. That's what this show is. I like you said, I mean, and John's already working because I put it in his brain. But what's going to happen is I really do believe that the total number of viewers, just like the same thing that's happening at the theaters, has slid because entertainment's no longer entertaining.
Do you like that instead of aiming at his neck with the lightsaber, she pulls the lightsaber out, but shoves him in the sternum with her little hands in the hilt? This show is so stupid. Nothing about it is cool.
Yeah,
just has every right to kill him. He literally just butchered.
The only thing I liked in this episode.
She's in love now, John.
The only thing that I liked in this episode is the fact that Squid Games was not an idiot. Because in the whole beginning, I'm like, oh my God, they're killing the one halfway decent character they've created in this by having him not know that.
No, he is an idiot. The Badger has to tell him with sniffy powers.
The Badger tells him.
Yes,
I missed that. Okay, yes.
I'm sorry to ruin your day, Marvin. He is an idiot.
Never mind the fact that he could supposedly read minds, and she has a face tattoo.
Well, the face tattoo disappeared when it was convenient.
But that's one part we didn't talk about was at that kind of near the end of the episode there. She runs off to go. The power comes back on. She runs off to the comms room to radio the Jedi to basically come to their location. And then he shoots her with a stun gun.
Right. She's doing the right thing for some reason.
Yeah. By the way, Angry Badger's name is Themit Otta. Of Themit Otta's Jug Band Christmas.
We got to get a numerical score from you. It's part of what we do here. 0 to 10. 0 is the worst garbage you have seen. 10 is Citizen Kane. 10 is Godfather Part 2. 10 is your favorite movie. Where does this land?
So before I get to that, I do want to point out that there's actually some potential on what they could have done. Like that forest planet has some pretty cool aesthetic. They could have actually done some really interesting attacks.
Oregon is a lovely state. Yes.
Yeah, well, you think Batman Begins, the dock scene, and how Batman just terrifies these drug smugglers and all the things that he does. You've got the Daredevil garage scene where he's taking out the Russians. Those are epic fight scenes that this could have been, because you have kind of that dark, gloomy aesthetic setting and everything, and you've got this Sith guy. He should have just been terrifying these people, killing them, really messing with their senses, having them devolve into fear, and it would actually have been somewhat decent. But they completely just missed the ball on a lot of this stuff, and it's pretty much the entire show is just awful. But I don't know, that was just something I wanted to discuss there, because I do feel like there's huge opportunities that they could have made something actually decent, really good, and they just chose not to.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
But as far as this episode, it's a 1. They made something.
All right, 1 out of 10. Culture. Get your camera back on, Culture. Come on, there you go. All right, Culture. Numerical scale, 0 to 10. What are you giving it?
Okay, all right. Overall, as John said, there was so much potential here. I mean, you give 4 of us an opportunity to write this episode, it's way better. They're suffering from, so here, let's go down the list. Pacing, not great. The storytelling mechanisms are uneven. Character development is a negative 1,000 because they are all over the place. Exactly, John.
Wait a minute, Culture. When she puts on the helmet, you weren't like, oh my gosh, she's wearing the helmet. I knew.
No, actually, oh my gosh. And then minus 11 billion for the Darth Vader mechanical breathing apparatus sounds at the end, but
which there's no mechanical breathing apparatus in the helmet apparently.
No, or that anywhere else for that matter. Let me stitch my helmet back together with this magical vein of cortosis that I happen to have handily in my cave was ridiculous. Outside of all the contrivance,
Do you think they watch Paul Chato's videos about them not having the gear stuff in it, and so they decided to have like multiple episodes, like a workbench that like you don't actually see what they're doing?
Yeah, no, that's fine. But I mean, when I look, and that's quite possible, by the way. But when I look at it all, and I think, just how many moments relied on because plot says so. Because that's basically this whole episode. Plot says so. So this happens. Plot says so. This gets a 3.
Ooh,
I've seen worse. I saw Mono's Hands of Fate.
Yeah, what's worse, Culture?
I just gave you one. There are many others. Most of them are like the B movies that were forced upon me when I was looking into like trying to be a filmmaker, which I gave up on quickly because the job sucks. But there's so much here. I think a 3. I mean,
Culture has lifted the average score right now to a 1.5. Yes, I am keeping track, folks. It's up to 1.5.
But the reason
you have a better review than Jonas.
We're being mean. Okay, Culture. We respect your opinion on this.
It doesn't.
Culture.
Sound
One final question though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Were you shocked at all that when Darth Smilo wears his helmet, he goes full Kenoshi, like he can't see anything? So he's having to rely, like Luke with the helmet on. Was that a shock to you?
What? Well, first of all, visibility in that helmet doesn't seem good.
That's
she
the
was
question.
looking out of the mouth.
That's the point.
I think
weird.
I think that he's a liar because you would have to be able to have some other sense other than your eyesight to understand just how much you were going to get killed by everybody around you.
Smell. That's what we're going to find out in the next episode, Culture. He's going to be like,
okay, he's
I smell you.
Darth Smello instead of
disagree with
he's Smello Red, not Smello
I'm going to disagree with Culture on this one. They're literally referring to Luke in the helmet from the original Star Wars, where he can't see when he's actually using his
Trust your feelings.
Well, when he's using his 5 senses, he can't actually block the little droid that shoots him. When he puts the helmet on and he actually begins to use the Force and sense out through the Force, he's able to block it and he's much more hyper aware.
Okay. I mean, maybe you're right, but regardless, none of it made a lot of sense. And then when she put the hat on, I was like, okay, well, this is dumb.
It was literally just a Darth Vader key jangle.
I know.
That's all that was.
Yeah.
But like, you don't even like if you're going the route of her now, all of a sudden she's going to become the Acolyte or she's going to become a dark side user. You only got 2 episodes left, and we're going to need to dedicate at least one of those to some hefty flashback. So you don't have
get into monologue song, Marvin.
Okay, and I'm going to say it this way, and you're 100% right. But with only 2 episodes left, and the fact that even the crazy chick with the bad arts and crafts furniture in the background on the Mary Sue has already told us that she didn't plan on getting a second season anyway. So she put everything in this. So you have 2 episodes to unfuggle this, I'm going to say, because I won't say a bad word on your channel, Pro. But there's no prayer here. How are you going to land this ship?
Well, here's a fun one for you guys. The theory we had that everybody had to die because otherwise the Jedi Council would know about the Sith, that's gone because now everybody knows about the Sith because they came back to the planet. So you'd have to be an idiot to not know, oh, that's a Sith. There's a Sith back here. So that's gone. They're just terrible, terrible writers. Even when we're like, oh, we know what's going to happen. It's bad writing, but here's what has to happen. No, they'll even defy that.
Ultimately, doesn't this just make the Empire look even worse with their genetic and their genocidal cleansing that they did? Because they would have had to go full genocide to get rid of all of this diversity that's in the,
yes, that and it neuters Anakin to, in every possible way. Marvin, let's get your numerical score. What's your score? You're going to be the last one to nudge this thing in a direction.
You didn't like my 3. I'm kind of sad now.
No, I'm honestly with you, Pro. I'm going to give this. There was nothing. This episode was nothing. Nothing got accomplished. Nothing got moved forward. The plot just stood completely still. We learned nothing new. We saw nothing new. that's why I have to go with you, and I have to give this a 0, because I'm giving it nothing because it was nothing. It was a waste of time. It's like she had 4 episodes planned out, and then they were like, "Can you give us 8?" And she was like, "I could try," because there's just nothing to this, and it's all leading up to the return of Mama Yass or Mama Horns. Or whoever is going to come back, but you're gonna get some kind of swerve where she's going to think she's extremely clever, and it's just nothing about this is written intelligently. Nothing about it is done intelligently. Culture mentioned having to unfuggle the plot here, but what I always say about a lot of companies that put on horrible product is, the first step in resolving an issue that you have is admitting that there's an issue. And I'm pretty sure that Leslie looks at this and thinks it's perfection. So no, there's no hope in this ever getting any better. It's only going to get worse from here.
Go ahead, Culture.
Are you going to say that she needs a 12-step program?
Yeah, she could start by apologizing to everyone she's wronged, all the Star Wars fans.
That's probably the least of the totem pole of her grievances that she's caused.
Oh yeah, there might be some young actresses in Hollywood she should apologize to first.
I would say so.
She has said that it is like her greatest piece of art, and she's sad that it's being torn down.
And now she's mocking it. So she's mocking her own.
Yeah, the Joan of Art.
Yep.
The Joan of Art.
So, folks, this is, according to our reviewers, this is the worst episode yet. It doesn't break Star Wars canon as badly as some episodes, but in terms of entertainment, this is the worst thing I've ever seen on Disney Plus. Maybe there's something worse out there. There is that the drag thing. I haven't watched that, but there is the drag thing that Disney promotes once a year. It might be worse. So, but 1.25 out of 10 is the official review score for The Acolyte Episode 6. I am told that this is the worst episode of the series, so we'll see if my source is on the money. Hopefully it does get better. And folks, because you all enjoy watching us suffer, I can confirm that we will be doing Agatha after parties in September, just because, again, you all love watching us suffer. What's that, John?
Are we going to do Rings of Power? Isn't that in August?
We have to do that.
All right, folks, we will consider it. Going to be a lot of content there.
If you think I got fired up here, if you think I got fired up about this, just wait until I get my hands on Tolkien.
John, why?
Culture, you're going to have to show up every single time and say, "This shall not pass."
That's great. We got it up. We've already got a bit.
And folks, that's it. It's a wrap. It's over, but not quite yet. 2 more episodes that we have to suffer through. You're welcome. You're welcome. And apparently, we're going to be doing Agatha after parties come September. And oh, what's that? Someone tells me we have to do a Rings of Power. Oh no, we're going to need showers to clean this gunk off of us after all this terrible entertainment. Bring on the good stuff. And by that, folks, I'll remind you, Despicable Me 4. We're giving the review later. We'll see you later today with that review. Hope to have you there. Folks, thank you so much for your support of Vacation Radio. Also, we hope that you'll like, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms, hit the notification bell, drop a comment down below, let us know your thoughts. And folks, have a happy and safe July 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. Have a great week. You know what? Keep all your fingers and toes. Ladies and gentlemen, that means don't blow them off with fireworks, for those of you who don't know what that's about. Be careful, swim safely, and eat lots of hamburgers and hot dogs. You deserve it this time. All right, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.